پچھلے چند سالوں سے سیزنل فورکاسٹ کافی امپروومنٹ ہوئی. گڈ ان پٹ فرام پاکستان میٹ ڈپارٹمنٹ لیڈڈ بائی ہیڈڈ بائی. اس کی طرح فورکاسٹر بھی اپنی غلطی کریں. پہلے فورکاسٹ دے دیتا ہے پاکستان میٹ ڈپارٹمنٹ ایز ایکٹنگ ڈی جی احمد کمال صاحب. بہت انٹرسٹنگ اسلام دعا کر کے اس کو سیٹ پہ بٹھاتے تھے. ان کا یہ رویہ دیکھ کے اوپر تھی جو فورکاسٹر جانتے ہیں. ہم نے لکھا تھا رین اوبلیک تھا اور سامنے جو مجھے یاد ہے کوئی ایم این اے تھے یا کوئی سینیٹر تھے مدو خیل صاحب. رین اوبلیک تھنڈر ڈیش چلتے کہ ہم نے دیا وہ تھا. ہم نے اس چیز کو انجوائے بھی کیا ہے, اسکیپ بھی کیا ہر صوبے کے لیے, ہر ریجن کے لیے. ہر نے آج کچھ اسٹیٹمنٹ دینی ہے اور یقیناً آپ اسٹیٹمنٹ دیں گے. احمد کمال صاحب 2010 فلڈ کی آپ کو انکوائری بھی یاد ہو. سیزن فورکاسٹ بہت اچھی ہوتی ہے, بہت اچھی ہوتی ہے. اس میپ کو آپ دیکھ سکتے ہیں کہ بہت اچھی فورکاسٹ ہے, لیکن آپ بہیو کرتے ہیں جسٹ لائک اینسو این اے او ٹیکنیکل لوگ یہاں پہ بیٹھے ہیں کہ ان فیکٹر کی بیس پہ اور ملٹی ماڈل انسمبل کی بیس پہ ملٹی ماڈیفکیشن ٹیکنیکس آ گئی ہیں. اس کی بیس پہ سیزن فورکاسٹ منتھلی فورکاسٹ سیزن کے 90-100 ڈیز میں کبھی بہت اچھا کبھی کرنا ہے. جب اسٹیک ہولڈر لائک این ڈی ایم اے تو آپ کا کام ہے کہ اس فورکاسٹ کو الیبوریٹ کرنا. فرق ہے کہ ولنریبلٹیز پاکستان ہوگا, مانسون بریک ہوگا. ٹھیک ہے, جو مانسون بریک ہوتی ہے 10-20 دن کچھ نہ ہو تو اس کا بھی ایک امپیکٹ آتا ہے. ان کو ڈیلی بیسس پہ دیکھنا ہے. مین چیز ہے آپ کے ایسٹ میں ہوتا ہے تبتن ہائی, ویسٹ میں ہوتا ہے آپ کا عربین. اس کے بیچ میں بیٹھنا ہے, ایسٹ کو جانا ہے, ویسٹ کو جانا ہے, نارتھ کو جانا ہے, ساؤتھ کو جانا ہے. اس کی ڈسپلیسمنٹ کا رسپانسبل جو دائیں بائیں بیٹھے ہیں اس کے آس پاس سب ٹراپیکل ہائیز کہلاتے ہیں. یا تو تبتن ہائی ہے یا آپ کے پاس عربین ہائی ہے. یہ اس کو یا تو انٹینسیفائی کراتے ہیں یا ویک کراتے ہیں, جس کی بیس پہ آپ کا ہیٹ فلو ایکسینچویٹ ہوتا ہے, مانسون ٹرف اسٹیبلش ہوتی ہے. جب آپ ان دونوں سب ٹراپیکل ہائیز کو ڈیلی بیسس پہ دیکھیں گے تو آپ کو کم از کم یہ پتہ چل جائے گا کہ اگلے 2-3 ہفتوں کے دوران کون سی چینج آنے والی ہے یا کون سی چینج نہیں آنے والی. تو اس کے کریکٹرسٹک کو آپ نے لازمی دیکھنا ہے, سب ٹراپیکل ہائیز کو, ان کی لوکیشن کو, ان کی ڈسپلیسمنٹ کو. یہ ان کی نارمل کنڈیشن ہے کہ تبتن ہائی آپ کو پتہ ہے کہاں پہ, عربین آپ کو ہائی پتہ ہے کہاں پہ, اور ہیٹ لو آپ کو پتہ ہے کہ کہاں پہ. یہ ان کی نیوٹرل کنڈیشن ہے, ایک بھی ہو جاتی ہے. موسٹلی آپ کو اس قسم کی شیپ ملے گی. اس کو عربین ہائی ویک ہوگا, تبتن اسٹرانگ ہو جائے گا. اس سے مانسون کیسے جنریٹ ہوگا یہ فورکاسٹر کا بات ہے. کبھی ایسے ہوگا کہ سب ٹراپیکل ہائی ویک ہوگا اور عربین ہائی اسٹرانگ ہو جائے گا. اس کا امپیکٹ بھی سب کو پتہ ہے کہ کیسے ہوگا, اور بعض اوقات یہ دونوں مرج ہو جاتی ہیں. یہ اس کا بھی امپیکٹ تمام فورکاسٹر کو پتہ ہے. تو یہ جو فیکٹر ہے, یہ جو فیکٹر ہے لوکل فیکٹر کہلاتے ہیں. لوکل فیکٹر کے لیے کہ سیزن کے دوران وہ کون سے دن ہوں گے, وہ کون سا ویک ہوگا, یا میکسیمم کون سے 2 ویکس ہوں گے جس کے دوران مانسون یا تو اگریسو ہوگا یا سلیپنگ موڈ میں چلا جائے گا یا ویک ہو جائے گا. تو اس کی بیس پہ, ان 2 فیکٹر کی بیس پہ آپ کو مانسون کا ٹرینڈ پتہ چلے گا فار نیکسٹ 2 to 3 ویکس. نمبر 1 کہ کس علاقوں میں کن علاقوں میں بارش ہونی ہے, کیسی ہونی. دین اس مانسون کی جو انٹینسٹی ہے, اس کو رین فال
دکھایا بالکل ٹھیک تھا, لیکن ورڈنگ میں کسی جگہ پہ کچھ کمی تھی میرے خیال میں. اس میں تو بلوچستان کا ذکر نہیں تھا.
یس آئی نوٹڈ, بٹ لیکن میں نے کہا کہ چلیں کچھ
دوسرا کہہ لیجیے کہ
ٹائم ہوتا ہے فورکاسٹ کا, اتنا اس کی جو ایکوریسی ہوتی ہے یا کانفیڈنس لیول ہوتا ہے وہ اتنا زیادہ نہیں ہوتا. جتنا آپ پاس آتے ہیں اتنا جو ہے وہ اس کو آپ بہتر جو ہے نا وہ اسیس کر سکتے ہیں. اب بات کر رہے ہیں آپ کی ویسٹرن ڈسٹربنس کی. بیسیکلی جس طرح آپ کے پاس ہوتا کیا ہے کہ آپ کے جو ویسٹرن یا ایسٹرن ہے وہ آپ کا بیس کر رہا ہوتا ہے آپ کے کنٹراسٹ آف ٹیمپریچر سے, جو کنٹراسٹ ٹیمپریچر آپ کا لینڈ کا اور واٹر باڈی کا ہوتا ہے جسے ہم اوشن کا نام دیتے ہیں. جس طرح آپ کے ٹیمپریچر بڑھتے ہیں تو وہ کنٹراسٹ بھی بڑھ جاتا ہے, کیونکہ آپ کو پتا ہے کہ لینڈ کی پراپرٹی ابزاربنگ ڈفرینٹ ہے ایز کمپیئر ٹو واٹر باڈی. تو وہ اس کنٹراسٹ کی وجہ سے جب ٹیمپریچر بڑھتے ہیں تو وہ اپنے ٹریک جو ہے وہ بھی چینج کر دیتے ہیں. अब उनके टेम्परेचर के कंट्रास्ट के बढ़ने की वजह से कई दफा ये होता है कि आपके जो वेस्टर्न डिस्टर्बेंसेस है वो एक तो फ्रीक्वेंटली आना शुरू कर देते हैं अगर उन्हें वो पाथ मिल जाता है, और कई दफा वो नॉर्थ साइड पे मूव कर जाते हैं, क्योंकि बेसिकली ये सारा लिंक होता है आपका इंटरट्रॉपिकल कन्वर्जेंस जोन की शिफ्टिंग की वजह से। इज इट क्लियर?
थैंक यू।
Assalamualaikum once again. Before I start my presentation, I want to acknowledge, I think the NDMA is one organization which bothers PMD the most. Just during the coffee break, his input, NDMA issues some kind of early warning or advisory with regards to keeping disaster responders at their places, because अनफॉर्चुनेटली हमारा जो कल्चर है छुट्टियों में सारे गायब हो जाते हैं, तो मैं इनके पीछे पड़ा हूँ और इट इज रेगुलर। कल भी ये जो टेम्परेचर बढ़ा है नॉर्दर्न एरियाज का, उसके ऊपर मैं इनके पीछे था कि जी अलग से एडवाइजरी इशू करें, तो इन्होंने एक लॉ ऑफ अलर्ट जो पुराना था वही मुझे दोबारा किया। लेकिन हमने फिर भी, अगर आप एनडीएमए की एडवाइजरी देखें जो कल इशू की गई है, उसमें स्पेसिफिकली जो टेम्परेचर राइज है इन नॉर्दर्न एरियाज, और वो बहुत ज़्यादा राइज है, जो उसका डिपार्चर है वो 10-12 डिग्री से भी ज़्यादा है, तो हम इनको तंग करते रहते हैं। और मैं यहाँ पे आई ऑल्सो एक्नॉलेज हिज सपोर्ट टू एनडीएमए इन द शेप ऑफ डेली प्रेजेंटेशन इन द मॉर्निंग एट 1000 आवर्स, जो कि हम अगले 3-4 दिन का वेदर देखते हैं कि आगे क्या आने वाला है, क्या होगा, और पीएमडी का रेप जो है वो हमारे एनयूएससी में आके वो सारी चीज़ें हमारे साथ शेयर करता है। तो सर थैंक यू, और हम आपको कॉन्टिन्यूसली बॉदर करते रहेंगे इन चीज़ों के लिए। सो मूविंग ओवर टू माय प्रेजेंटेशन, दिस इज द सीक्वेंस। If we look at the region as a whole, you can see it is not only Pakistan where these disasters are striking. It is happening all around, starting from Afghanistan, Bangladesh, India, even China. And if you look at the global landscape, there are heat waves going on in Europe, floods in Australia, and heat warnings in US mainland. So the adverse impacts of the climate change are unfolding throughout the world. And as Saibzad Saab during his welcome address highlighted that Pakistan is amongst the 10 most vulnerable countries on the global risk index. So we need to prepare more, challenges are more, and these are going to be new and unprecedented in scale. These are certain indicators which we have, which I am highlighting here. If we start from the left, changing climate patterns. There was no spring. We straight away from winters we entered into the summers, and then there was an unusual thing: snowfall in the month of June at various places. Extreme events we have witnessed: snow blizzard in Murray, heat wave, drought, windstorm, clock. So far 3 in KP and 2 major in GB. Otherwise there are several. You must be seeing those videos which people post on the social media, that dry nalas suddenly flooding with debris and water flow or the ice melt from the glaciers, and it is happening very frequently. Forest fires, unprecedented, 1000 plus recorded forest fire during this 2.5 months. And we saw a big forest fire in Shirani area, where we had to request our brotherly countries also for providing aerial assets to douse that fire. Early pre-monsoon rain, and it was more intense and more quantity of water was there in that. and the bottom strip, 21st June, which was supposed to be the hottest day, was the coldest. So these are few of the impacts of the climate change which we as a country are witnessing. And because of that, Hanif sir highlighted that there are going to be events which we do not expect. And if we expect, we do not expect in a certain level of intensity which we are going to face. So challenges are enormous, and we have to remain abreast with the developing weather system and keep our capabilities ready. What we did, I'm going to share a few highlights of that. This was the first conference, and it was new for me as well, that we started off in January. Normally we start off in June. So there were certain directions with regards to preparation of contingency plans, gearing up resources for cleaning the nallas, waterways, stormwater drains, and coming onto one platform and focusing on coming monsoon. Then we had the second conference in which NDMA issued a contingency plan in which certain scenarios were discussed. I'm going to just casually touch upon those points. Public awareness is a very important aspect. Just yesterday, despite issuing all the early warnings and alerting people, there were 4 children, they were inside Kurantala. And despite elaborate warning system on Nala Lai, one boy just drowned. So public awareness, alerting people, we are very complacent with regards to these alerts which normally different organizations issue. It is not until unless the situation comes on your head that we respond. So we need to continuously engage public with regards to impending dangers which these monsoon rains can put them into. Activation of stakeholders. Then there was a final conference where we carried out stock taking of what we have done in terms of mitigation work, what coordination arrangements are in place, and accordingly upgradation of plans. Because no plan is final, and based on the situation we need to keep upgrading it, revising it based on available resources and challenges. And the point which I am highlighting at the end, this simulation exercise. It was just 2 days event where we practiced multi-scenario disaster hazards. It helped us in better understanding of how to assess a situation. It was really heartening to see that all the disaster management stakeholders and our support sectors, they wholeheartedly participated in the exercise. And it was such an event that it helped all the stakeholders to not only refine their plans but better prepare for the coming challenge. These are just disaster management system and tiers. NDMA is at the national level, and we respond to category 3 or 4 disaster. And below us are the provincial system, and then basic responsibility lies with the districts, who are the actual responders along with the rescue services. This is just a map of all the stakeholders for the flood management, and starting from PMD and FFD and FFC to all in terms of NHA, WAPDA, Indus Water Commission, SPARCO, all disaster management stakeholders, rescue services, irrigation departments, and our partner NGOs and humanitarian sectors, including UN organizations. So NDMA and our NDOC is a coordinating center where we take input from all the relevant stakeholders, issue alerts, in case of a disaster, engage different stakeholders in response, and if there is a requirement of involving federal agencies like Army or Air Force, Navy, or even civil armed forces, we coordinate that. So just few of the aspects of National Monsoon Contingency Plan. I will not get into this. Aneek Saab has already covered amply what we are expecting, and we are already into monsoon. This was the most likely scenario, which was above normal to normal, and we are already witnessing all the activities which had been predicted or expected. We have already seen urban floods, flash floods also, GLOF event, landslides. Just yesterday, the Jaglots Karturos was blocked, and we have just learned that it has been opened now. So, based on this scenario, we issued instructions for preparation by all disaster management stakeholders. These are few of the impacts. I think I will just skip over it. This is the National Emergency Operations Center. It is functional 24/7. We take stock of situation every morning with a rep from PMD assisting us in understanding the forecast for next 24 hours, and a lot of coordination and all kinds of synergizing the efforts takes place in this NEOC. We have these kind of backup support for approximately 0.3 million people in terms of providing relief and other food and non-food items. Public awareness campaign, NDMA and all the PDMS, they have already undertaken that. It's a continuous process, and we are doing it continuously as monsoon progresses. So far, including pre-monsoon rains, these are the losses and damages. Basically, I have only covered deaths and injuries. So far, we have reported deaths 52 people and injuries of 73. This includes yesterday's rain, basically day before yesterday's rain, which caused deaths in Balochistan also, and few in AJK also. So that is all. Thank you very much. If you have any question, I am here to answer. I think Alauddin, is it on our website? It is on our website. It is. Sir.
Are these articles available at any point, or the district disaster management?
You are talking about the relief items. These are available at our 8-9 warehouses, which are available throughout the country, starting from Gilgit, Muzaffarabad, Jalozai, Islamabad, Muzaffargarh, Sakhar, Jamshoro, and Quetta and Karachi. So these are our humanitarian response facilities. These things are available to support the provinces. Basic response will come in case the disaster overwhelms them and they request for national support. We are there. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Onset based on multiple data sets and techniques, and also the interannual variations, large scale circulation anomalies, and the thermodynamic structure during the arrival of the monsoon over Pakistan. And the second part, I'll talk about the spatio-temporal variability and trends of monsoon over Pakistan on monthly and seasonal time scales, and some underlying physical mechanisms responsible for the observed trends of monsoon over the Indo-Pakistan subcontinent. As we all know that differential heating of the land creates a well-marked low pressure system over Pakistan, Indian subcontinent with its southeastward elongated trough, and differential heating of the cooling in the Pacific creates the high pressure area in the South Pacific. So because of this difference in the pressure, low over the land and high pressure over the ocean, a pressure gradient force here act to move wind from the south towards the north. As the wind crosses the equator, reflected eastward by the African mountains and then bifurcate. And then bifurcate in two branches. One goes towards the South Asia and other towards the East Asia. So basically the asymmetrical distribution of the temperatures or the diabatic heating of the land and ocean, or you can say that differential heating of the land and the ocean, as earlier mentioned by Dr. Violander. Because of this differential heating of the land and the ocean, low pressure is developed over land and high over the ocean, and because of this difference in the pressure, a pressure gradient force that moves the air from south towards the north. So because of this differential heating, so differential heating is basically the one of the primary reasons behind this monsoon circulation. Here is the normal date for the onset of southern monsoon over Pakistan, and this animated image basically showing the daily spatial distribution of rainfall for more than 30 years period taken from the CHRIP satellite product. Now here is the distribution of rainfall over Pakistan, and you can see that low level areas Pakistan or the southern part receive less precipitation compared to the northern parts or the high latitude regions. And this pie chart actually showing the distribution of seasonal precipitation during 1981 to 2010, and you can see that nearly 45% of monsoon total rainfall is received in the monsoon season. If we include the month of June, I think this percentage goes up to 50-52%. So this shows how much we depend on the monsoon rainfall. So the summer monsoon rainfall actually plays a very important role in the social and economic development of our country, and any variability in the spatial or temporal can have a major and serious impacts on different sectors like agriculture, water resources, hydroelectricity, and different many more. Here is the description of the data sets we used in this study. The daily rainfall data from 17 meteorological stations was taken from was obtained from the Pakistan Meteorological Department, and we have also used the graded observational data sets obtained from different sources like GPCC, GRU, Aphrodite, and used the total precipitable water data acquired from Langley Research Center, NASA, and OL outgoing long wave predictions data from the NOAA Climate Data Record Center. And in order to examine the large-scale dynamics, we use the NCEP and GAR reanalysis products of the variables winds like U and V component, geopotential height, and specific humidity. Okay, so in the first part, in order to define the summer monsoon onset over Pakistan, first we use the precipitation index criterion, following the method defined by Higgins et al. 1997. And in the second part, we have used another method which is normalized precipitable water index based on the precipitable water vapor data following the method Zhang and Du 2004. In the third part, for analyzing the trends of monsoon rainfall over Indo-Pakistan subcontinent, we use the linear regression method, and simply to check the significance of the trends, we use the simple Mankandal test. So in this study, we define the monsoon onset over this rectangular box. This rectangular box actually shows the northeastern part of Pakistan and signals not only the arrival of monsoon season over Pakistan, but also shares the major part of the monsoon rainfall over Pakistan. And the dots within the rectangular box indicate the location of the observatories, PMD 20 observatories, and the white contour lines here are showing the summer rainfall climatology from Aphrodite for the period 1961 to 2007. Okay, first, in the first method to define the onset, we employed precipitation index method. So this is very simple method. In this method, first we computed precipitation index by simply the area averaging daily rainfall over the rectangular box. For all the grids, we use for the gridded data set, and we actually averaged all the stations within the box for the station data. And then PI threshold is calculated. PI threshold means is basically threshold of magnitude threshold, and which is defined that the mean of the daily precipitation index climatological values between the 1st of June to 30th of September. And in this figure, you can see the thick line shows the daily rainfall from Aphrodite, gridded shows daily rainfall for the station data, and the horizontal line shows the precipitation index threshold, which is the magnitude threshold, which is 4.1 millimeter for the station and 3.1 millimeter for the Aphrodite data. And you can see that around 1st of July or the last week of June, there is a sudden increase in the daily rainfall, and then again around mid of September there is a decline in the daily rainfall. Shows that here this is, you can say this actually time can be considered the demarcation between the dry season and the wet rainy season, and this time between 1st of July and the mid of September is considered the wet rainy season over Pakistan. So we have already defined the threshold criteria, which is 4.4 millimeter per day, and for the duration threshold we have taken 3 consecutive days as the duration threshold, because a study published by Sayyid et al. 2010 that the monsoon active phases over Pakistan do not persist for more than 3 days, because onset also the first active phase of active phases. So we consider the duration threshold 3 days, and then we define the onset, that the monsoon onset date is the first date the precipitation index threshold of the magnitude is met or exceeded for 3 consecutive days. Okay, in the second method we use the normalized precipitable water index data. For this method we use the 9 grid cell criteria with 1 degree spatial resolution, and all these 9 grids basically lie within our core monsoon region of Pakistan. So NPWI criteria is calculated precipitable water minus precipitable water minimum divided by maximum minus minimum, where maximum and minimum precipitable water are the 20 years average of the annual maximum and minimum daily values at each grid point. So for this method we have selected the magnitude threshold 0.618, which is the golden ratio defined by Zhang and Lu 2004, and again the duration threshold is 3 consecutive days, and we define the monsoon. The monsoon onset date is the first date over Pakistan when the threshold, which is 0.618, is met for 3 consecutive days after at least 5 grid cells out of 9 after 1st of June. So based on these 2 definitions, we have computed the year-wise and climatological mean onset date over Pakistan. And the mean climatological date over Pakistan based on station data is 1st of July with 12 days standard deviation. Whereas for the Aphrodite data, the date is around 30th June, and for precipitable water data it's around 30th June. And you can see that there is a high standard deviation in the monsoon onset days over Pakistan, which is around 11 days. This is very much compared to the daily mean over Pakistan and the signal of the decadal variability. Now,
frequency in Pakistan, and then the recent frequency we all know that there is no universal or fixed definition of heat wave. Rather, WHO defines it as that when you get the temperature 5 degrees C, 5 degrees centigrade above average for consecutive 5 days or more, then you define it as a heat wave. But different countries define it in a different way. India Met Department defines that if the temperature of certain area or certain city goes 5 degrees above normal for 3 consecutive days, then they call it heat wave. And so does the PTO France. PMD has been following the WHO definition, but since 2015 killer heat wave of Karachi, we have set the new criteria as follows: that when the temperature is 38 degrees C but less than 40 degrees C, so at that time we call it hot day, and when it exceeds 40 degrees C or equals 40 degrees C and for 3 consecutive days, then we term it as heat wave. And if it reaches 40 degrees C or exceeds 40 degrees C but for 7 days or more, then we call it severe heat wave. We all know that when there is a formation of a high pressure system in upper atmosphere, like what we have experienced this year, even from the month of March. So at that time the heat waves occur because the high pressure, in high pressure we know that the air sinks down, and that creates the compression, and that compression results warming at the surface. Or when there is a continuous continental airflow over a place in summer days. And for coastal area, there is a slight difference that in addition to above phenomena, we can also get the heat wave condition when there is a formation of low pressure area depression in the ocean, in the Arabian Sea, for example. In 2015, we have experienced the Karachi heat wave. At that time, it was a formation of depression for a week or so. This is the graph of the global temperatures. You know, the WHO recent report 2021 climate, state of climate, it is taken from that. So as we can see that from 70s onward, there is a continuous and sharp rise in global average temperatures. And currently, according to IPCC report, it is reported that 1.1 degrees Celsius temperature has risen globally. This is the trend for warm days and cool nights. So this heat wave is actually heat waves, and the global warming is resulting in more warm days and less cool nights. So we can see that all over the places, Australia, North America, Europe, Asia, and the global as well, that number of warm days are on continuous rise, and the number of cool nights are on continuous decrease. So, yes, Turbat in Rajasthan and southwest of Pakistan is the station which has experienced in 2017, on 28 May 2017, it has recorded 54 degrees centigrade, which happens to be the fourth hottest place in the world, second hottest in the Asia after one of the Kuwait station. So previously we had a record of 53.5 degrees C on 27th May 2010, that was recorded at Mohenjo-daro. So Turbat is now the fourth hottest place in the world and second highest temperature record in Asia. And Pakistan, of course, is the hottest or highest temperature place. This is the trend from 1961 to 2019. So we can see that there is gradual rise in temperatures, and especially after mid-90s, we can see the sharp increase in that. So on the average, the analysis of data revealed that annual maximum temperature for Pakistan as a whole has increased by 0.94 degrees centigrade over the last 60 years. Well, this graph gives us the mean, maximum and minimum, all three indices of temperature. So we can see that since 90s onward, all three indices are on continuous rise. This is the anomaly graph. So we can see the red bars, usually, the red bars in all three graphs after 90s. So there is a continuous rise and one continuous positive anomalies. 1 degree C, 1.5 degree C, something like that in all three indices. Well, this is also the Pakistan annual mean temperature showing rising trend, and it has risen at the rate of 0.007 degree C per year. There are 27 individual stations on the right. In the right table, we can see table on the right side. We can see that there are 27 such stations who have indicated the man candle trend test that there is a warming trend at 27 or 28 stations. And only there are 3 stations. One is I think Chirag and Parachinar, and the third one is Kalat, I think, which have shown the decreasing trend. Otherwise, there are 28 stations, and this is the number from total number of stations studied, 56 stations. So 27 individual stations experience significant rise in temperature, while 3 are showing the no rise. And if we